Hello everyone, welcome to the Mercury Virtual. Hope you are doing good. Today I'm going to continue with the same topic, same chapter, that is chapter number 18. And the next topic that I'm going to discuss is the file navigation and the input output. That is, what are the various file navigations and what are the various input output operations that is performed in the file navigation and the input output. There are multiple classes that we're going to know the basics of the file navigation and input output. One is a file class, one is a file reader class, one is a file writer class. There are three classes in which we can going to access the content. One is the file class only, one is the file reader class, one is the file writer class. So file class contains the reader as well as the writer, and the file or the file writer class is used to write the data onto the content. So Java files or Java file class represent the files and the directory path names in an abstract manner. File class represents the files and directories path name in an abstract manner. So whatever the path name, whatever the file name, whatever the abstract data, that is a file in the directory path name, that is used with the abstract manner. And this class is used for the creation of the files and the directories, file searching, file deletions, and so on. So we are going to use with the file directories, we are going to use with the directories, file searching, file deletions, etc. And the file object represents the actual file directory or not. So whatever the file object, whatever the object that is represented, that represents the actual file or the directory of the disk. And there are following constructors to create a file object. That is used. So following syntax created a new file instance from the parent aspect path name and a child path name. This is file, then there is a file parent, then string child. So one is a file, that is of the parent type, one is a string, that is a child. And this is a syntax that creates a new file instance by converting the given path name string into an abstract path name. That is a file string path name. Then this is a syntax that is used to create a new file instance from a parent parenthesis string and a child path name string. With the string, or there is a parent parenthesis string and there is a child path name that is used for creating a new file instance from the parent path name string and the computer, or we can say the child path name string. And this syntax is used for creating an instance by converting the given file URL into the abstract path name. This is the syntax for the URL. This is not URI, this is the URL for the URL. So these are the following syntaxes that is used with the file class in the Java programming. And once you have file object, and there is a list of there are multiple helper methods. We can say that there are multiple functions that is used that can be used to manipulate the content, that is used to manipulate the data in the file classes. So first one is the public string get names. If I want to get the name or the path name that is directed, so we get for the returns the name of the file or the directory that is denoted by this abstract path. The next one is public string get parent. So this returns the path name string of the parent name or path name parent and null if this path name does not name a parent directory. Then public file get parent name. This returns the abstract path name of this abstract path name parent or null if the path name does not name a parent directory. So if the parent directory is not available for the parent for the file directory, so we can get it by using the public file get parent file. The next one is a public string get path. So if I want to get the path where the string is stored, for example, it is stored in the C programming in the exe file, so we can get the path by using the public string get path function. Then public boolean is absolute. So this is used to find out the boolean value if it is absolute value or not. That is the value in the terms of the true or the false. So this returns the true if the abstract path name is absolute, and it returns 0 when this absolute path name is not available. Then public string get absolute path name. So this returns the absolute path name string of the abstract path name. So whatever the string name, whatever the path name that is available, that is used with the string that is used with the abstract path name. Then public boolean can read. So this test whether we can read the or whether the application can read the file denoted by the abstract file name or no. If this returns the true if and only if the file specified by the abstract name exists and can be read by the application. Otherwise, it gives the value public boolean can write. So can read means whether the application can read the file from the data file or from the Java files or not. Can write means whether we are able to modify the content, we are able to write the content into the Java file. So the public boolean can write. So one is a can read, one is a can write. The public boolean exists. So if this is available, whether the file or directory denoted by the strict name or path name exists or not. So this returns true if and only if the file name or the directory denoted by the strict name exists. Otherwise, it gives a value as a 0. Then public boolean is directory. So this gives the file name or this is denoted by the strict file name, that is the directory. So we have to check whether the directory is available, whether the folder is available for the functions. It gives the value as a true if and only if the file denoted by the strict name exists and it is a directory, otherwise gives the false value. Then public boolean is file. So this is a test whether the file denoted by the strict path name is a normal file or not. A file is normal if it is not a directory, and in addition, it satisfies the system-dependent criteria. So these are the 10 functions, the basic 10 function, we can say the important 10 function that helps for the file class to get with the syntax, to get with the syntax scenarios, to get with the examples. So first one is file parent, string child, then string path name, string parent, string child, then URI. In the same way, these are the helper function, we can say the member function that is used with these file class syntaxes. First one is public string get name, then public string get parent, then public string get parent name, then get path. So first is getting the name, getting the parent name. That is the path name of the parent from where it started. For example, if my data is stored in the subfolder, this gives the get parent gives the name of the main folder in which the subfolder is created. Then get the parent file. That file is available in the Word format, Excel format, any format that is used. So this path name does not name a parent directory. Then public string get path. So this converts this absolute or a strict path name into the path string. Then public boolean is absolute. So if it is absolute value or no, so this returns the value if it is absolute. Otherwise, it gives the value as a false or the 0. Then public string get absolute path. So in the same way, we also get the absolute path, that is what is the strict path. We can see the correct path. For example, it is stored in the D drive. It is going to the computer, then C drive, then sorry, D drive, then there is a folder name, subfolder name, and there is a file. Then public boolean is file, that is the 11th one. So these 10 are very important. Next one is a boolean, public boolean is file. So this check for the error, this check for the boolean operator, whether it finds a normal file or no. If it is a file or normal, it is not a directory. In addition, it also satisfies the system dependent criteria. Next one is public long last modify. That means what is the last modification date, what is the last modification timing, as per the, we can say as per the scenarios, as per the GMT, PMT, CST, whatever the scenario that is. This returns a time that the file denoted by this abstract file name was last modified, and returns a long value representing the time the last file was modified, when and how, that measured in the milliseconds. Next one is public long length. So this is denoted by the strict file name, how we can denote the file. So we are going to use the path name, and the return value is unspecified if this path name denotes a directory. Then public boolean create new file throws input output exception. So this automatically creates a new empty file named by this abstract file name or path name. It and only if and only if a file with this name does not yet exist. So if the file is already available, we are not able to create a new file with this input output exception. This returns the value as a true if the name file does not exist and was successfully created, false if the name file already exists. Next one is public boolean delete. So this also gives the, we can say the either true or the false value. So this gives the or deletes the file or directory and denoted by this abstract file name. And this if this file name denotes a directory, then the directory must be empty. Why it is empty? Because we are able to store, or we can able to store into the directory with the file name, with the content, with the files. Then public void delete on exit. So this requires that the file or directory denoted by this abstract file name can be deleted when the virtual function terminates. Then public string list. So this returns an array of string naming the files and the directories in the directory denoted by this abstract file. Then public string list file name filter. In the same way, public file, list file, so listing the whatever the file that is contained in the directory with the absolute or the abstract path name. Then public file, list file, file filter, filter. So if you are able to filter the path names denoted with the or used with the files as a directory that is denoted by the abstract file name that satisfies the specified filter. Then public boolean mkdir. Now, what is mkdir? What is the full form of mkdir first of all? Anyone can tell me what is the full form of mkdir? In the first, we can see the third class talking about mkdir. MKDIR full form is yes, making the directory. So if I want to make a directory that is making the folder, but in the operating system it is functional directory. If I want to make a directory that is done or that is represented or that is used by making the command that is mkdir. So to create the directory named by the strict path name. This returns a true if and only if the directory was created, otherwise it gives the value as a false value 0. Now, if I want to create the multiple directories at the same time, that is given by the mkdirs, making the directories. Then public boolean rename to file destination to use the absolute path name that returns the value or the true if and only if the remaining proceeds. So the remaining part is not available in the file destination, so how it is possible to make the rename of it. Then public boolean set last modified long time. So whatever the last modified date or whatever the last modified time of the file or the directory that is named by the specific file. Next one is public boolean set read only, then file create temp file, then file create temp file, then public int compare to file path, then public int compare to object obj, then public string to string function. This is the next one. Last one is very important. That is the public string to string function. This returns the path name string of the strict path name, and this is just the string written by the get path method. So whatever the get path method that is going to give, that is represented by the string or the strict path. This is one of the example that shows how to use these files or what are the various methods that help for the file class. This example contains each and every method that contains each and every file object. So first one is package.com. Then main line is or the main part is import java.input output file. That means we are going to import the java.input output file. So we are making the operations in the input output, that is java.input output file. Then there is a semicolons for terminating the line. Public class file demo, name of the class is file demo. Again there is a starting of the curly braces. Public static void main string args. Then file f equals to null. We are emptying the file first of all, or we are going to check whether the file is empty or not. If the file is not empty, we are not able to write or we are not supposed to write in the file. So first of all, file f equals to null. Then string strs equals to test1.txt, then test2.txt. There are two strings, one is the test1.txt, next one is test2.txt. Then using the try block for each string in a string array for string strs. So for using the string, for making the strings, we are using strings strs. So for creating a new file, we are using f equals to new file s. So to create a new file, we are going to use f equals to, so because f is a variable, that may be a pointer variable, that may be a normal variable, but this is f is a type of the file in which we are going to operate on the input and the output operations. So f equals to new file or the file, there are multiplied files also. Then if the file is executable, then boolean bool. We are creating the variable as a bool, named the variable is bool, that is of the boolean type, and then f dot can executes. It can execute, it cannot execute. So if it is execute, then this gives the value either in the true false or the true or in the false. Then finds the absolute path. String a equals to f dot get absolute path. So for getting the absolute path, we are using f.get absolute path function. Then that prints the absolute path in the system.out.print a. So this finds the absolute path, is true if the file is executable, then finds the absolute path, then prints the absolute path, then prints system.out.println is executable plus bool. So whatever the value of the bool that is printed, that is executable. This is a for loop in which we are going to start with the string. So we are going to compare with the string. For part, first of all, creates a new file. Then after creating the new file, check whether the file is executable or not. Then find the absolute path. Then prints the absolute path. Then prints whatever the absolute path that is available within the bool variable. Now, any doubt in this for loop, because this for loop is related to another for loop in the next session. Any doubt in this for loop? So after the try block, there is a catch. There is a catch exception E. If any input output error occurs, so E dot print stack trace function. So if I go into stack the or trace a stack function or print stack function, this is E dot print stack trace print stack trace function. And there is a closing of this curly braces. This. So now this is first one is test1.txt. It is going over here. The string is test1.txt. It is creating the new file for the test1.txt. It will execute. Yeah, this is a string. This is available in the bool. Get the absolute path for the string. Then this is printing as a this will print the output as a true or the false. So this will execute because it is available in the absolute path and this is available in the file. So what is the output of this one? First one has output true. Now in the next case, this is test2.txt. In the test2.txt, there is no file that gives the absolute path because one of the file is already available in that absolute path, so there is no requirement for the next file. So if the test2.txt is arrived, hello, are you able to hear me? Hello. Okay. So if the test2.txt is arrived, so it is not executable in the current directory, so it will give the error as a, it will give the, we can send you as a 0. That is either true or the false. The next one is file reader class. This class inherits from the input stream reader class. So there is the input stream reader class that represents the output in a content. So we are finished with the file class. Now there are two types of the file class. One is the file reader class, one is the file writer class. So let's see what is a file reader class. As the name advises, file reader class, that means that is used for reading out streams of character. What is a stream? That is a collection of characters. And file writer class, that is used for writing the data, writing the strings, writing the sequence of characters in the file. So one is a file reader class, one is a file writer class. So let's talk about the first of all, what is a file reader class. This class inherits from the input stream reader class, and this reader is used for reading the streams of the character. And this class has several constructors to create the required object. Now, what are the various constructors that is used to create the required object? So this following syntax creates a new file reader and gives the file to read from. This is file reader, file. So this syntax gives a new file reader, gives a description to use, gives a description to get the file reader content. File reader content for making the file. So this is file reader. Then there is a file keyword. Again there is a file keyword. So this syntax creates a new file reader, gives a file description to read from. This file reader, then file description FD. So following syntax creates a new file reader, gives the name of the file to read from. This is still file name. And once you created the file reader object in hand, there is a list of the helper methods which can be used to manipulate the files. Now, what are the various methods, or we can say what are the two functions that is used to help for the file reader object? First one is public entry for reading purpose. It throws the input output exception, so it is using as a public entry. It throws input output exception. So this reads a single character. and returns an integer which represents the character read. So what are the characters that have read out or that have read out that is represented as the return value or integer value. So this reads a single character. The next one is public entry char c int offset and the int length. So this gives the characters into the array and returns the number of characters read. So first of all, we are studying about how to create a file reader or what are the various options to create a file reader that gives a file to read from. That is file reader, file. Next one is file descriptor FD. The next one is string file. These are the two methods that is used with this one. So that is used with the file reader object that is used in the hand. So there is a list of the mapper or helper methods that can be used to manipulate the file list or that is used to manipulate the files that is available with the mapper that is available with the data series. So this is public entry throws input output exception. So first of all, read the files or return the single character, returns an integer value that represents the characters read. Then public entry char int offset int length reads the characters into the array, returns the number of characters read. So this is the public entry and public entry char int offset int length. So these are the two helper methods that is used with the file reader objects. Now, what are the various methods that is used with the file writer object, which is a program that shows or demonstrates the class. So first one is the same file or the same line that is import Java to input output operations and public class file read. Public static void main string args for showing the exceptions. It's again for throw input output exception. Then file equals to new file hello1.txt. So this is hello1.txt is the name of the file which is created for this one. Then file dot create new file that creates an then creates a file writer objects. Then file writer equals to new file writer file. So this is file writer equals to new file writer and there is a file name. Then write the content into the file. So whatever the content that is used to write into the file by using the file writer object, this is writer.write. Then this is an example of this one. So writer.flush, then writer.close. So this is writer.flush and then next one is a writer.close. So one is public static void main string args for showing the exceptions. Then there's a file operation, so there's a file, we can say the keyword, then there's a variable for the file. For creating a new file, we use a new keyword. And what is the name of the file? hello1.txt. Then file.create new file that creates a file writer object. Then file writer equals to new file writer file. Then writes the content to the file. That is writer.write. This is an example of this one. This creates a file reader object. File reader fr equals to new file reader file. So for creating the file reader, we are using the function, we are using the variable as of fr, that is the file reader, that is equals to the new file reader file. So one of the file reader object is creating for the files, that is a new file reader file. Then char a equals to new char 50. That means a is a character array. Remember, it is a character array. That means it stores a strings or it contains a string that is equals to the new char 50. That means it is stored in the 50. The new char 50 means for total 50 characters are installed. 50 characters are, we can say, stored in the new, that is a. Then fr.read a. So the read operation, then a reads the content to the array. For char ch, then a. That means it starts with a C and there are, for example, there are 50 characters, it go till the 50. Then system.out.print C. That prints the characters from the. Then fr.close, so that means the file will be closed, that is fr.close. So first one is a java.input output, that is a header file. Then public class file read, then public static void main string args for showing the input output exceptions. Then file equals to new file hello1.txt. Then hello1.txt for inputting the file. Then creates a file for this one. Then file dot create new file. So one of the new file will be created by using the create new file function that creates a file writer object. Then file writer equals to new file writer file. Then write the content of the file or write the content to the file. Writer.write. This is an example of. Then writer.flush, writer.close. Then creates a file reader object. That file reader fr equals to new file reader file. Then char a equals to new char 50. That means creating a new array, that is a that contains into the 50 character that contain into the char 50. That means there are total 50 characters in this one. So there is a string of the 50 characters. Now my question is to Larry, what is the last one string or what is the last one characters that is available in a string? If there are total 50 characters, okay, what is the last one character? Think about the strings, what we have covered in the string, how the string will start and how it will terminate. Yes, right. It always terminates with the null character. So at the end, there is a last character that is available in the at the 49th location, or we can say the 50th location. What is the name of the character? That is a null character. Then fr dot read a, then 4ch char a, char ca, then system.out.print c. So this will print the output in the c variable. So this will print the characters one by one. Why it print character one by one? Because it is an array that is stored in a variable, and we are passing the value from the a to the c. This will pass from character to character, and displays the output. This is an example. This is an example that is given in the multiple lines. So first, in the first line this, then in the second line is next line, and then this is the fourth line example. So we are finished with the file writer class. Now next class is file. So we are finished with the file reader class. Next line is, or next part is file writer class. File reader, the main role of file reader is to read the stream from the file. Next one is file writer, that is putting the stream into the, or putting the characters into the file. One is reading the file, or reading from the file, one is writing into the file. This class inherits from the output stream writer class, and this class is used for writing the streams of characters. Again, it is using the stream of character, that means a collection of characters, that is a string. And this class has multiple constructors to use, or that is required to, or that is used to create the required objects. What are the various constructors that is used to create the required objects? So this syntax creates a file reader object, giving a syntax. File writer, file. So file writer, file means there is an object, there is a keyword file writer that is of the file category. Then following syntax creates a file writer objects given a file objects. File writer, file, boolean, append. So one is a boolean, that is append means at the end of the line it is going to increment the values, increment the content. We have to add the content in the append. Then file, that means file is a variable of the file type. The next one is file writer object that is used with the file descriptor. File descriptor means what is the file location from where it starts. That is a file descriptor that is represented by the variable fd. So this is file writer, file descriptor, and fd. And the next one is syntax to create a file writer object given a file name. So next part is file writer string file name. String file name means what is the name of the file from where the string will occupy. Then file writer. This syntax creates a file writer object given a file name with a boolean indicating whether or not to append the data. So this is a file object. It gives the file name with a boolean. Boolean means a boolean character will be available to return the data whether the file is available for the boolean, or that gives the output in a true or false. This is file writer, string file name, boolean, append. And once you have file writer object in hand, there is a list of the helper methods. So we are finished with these constructors. These are the various constructors to require the objects in the file writer class. After this, these are the three functions that are known as the helper methods that is used to manipulate, or that can be used to manipulate the files. We can say that helps the file writer class how to manipulate, how to get the content, how to deal with the content, how to modify the content with the file writer object. The first one is public void write int c stores input output exception. Public void write int c means we are going to write in the public void write, that is the public type, return type is void, function name is write. Then int c means argument type is a c, that is of the integer, then stores input output exception, that writes a single character. Then public void write char c int offset int length or length, that writes a portion of an array of characters starting from offset and with the length of length. Then public void write string s int offset int length. This writes a portion of a string starting from offset and with the length of length. So first one is writes only a single character. Next one is writes portion of the characters, or we can say the array of the characters, string of the characters starting from the offset with the length of the. Next one is write a portion of a string starting from the offset with the length of the length. This is an example that shows how these constructors and how these functions will be used. So first one is import Java input output. That means taking the file, taking the header as a java.input output. The same concept. So in the next class, that is in the tutorial class, I'm going to start with the next topic, that is chapter number 19, Java exceptions. So how to handle with the Java, so how to deal with the Java. So that's all for today's session. Thank you so much everyone for listening to me. If there is any doubt, any suggestions, you can ask about